Hey, what up, though, minivan musician? We're just going to do a video that explains what we're going to be doing. I've said it in a lot of comments. I think I've said it in a short, in a post here and there. And we're going to explain why we're doing what we're doing. For those that don't know, we are in Western North Carolina. You might have heard of it recently.
Some of the worst hit parts of, the worst hit part of Hurricane Helene.
Yeah, and we've decided that, and I'm completely obsessive about it, that I am just going to, we're still going to do our other interviews and stuff like that. So it'll be like double time on the channel. But I am going to run at least a handful of pieces of content every week for the next year or more. I'm not letting the story die. And other people are starting to get to where they can communicate. And I'm kind of reaching out to them and saying, hey, tell your story, and things like that. So basically, we kind of want to explain why we're going to be doing this on the channel. And, I will say that we're blessed. Like we said in the last video, we're fortunate. We still have our home. I lost some business, we lost some food, stuff like that. But Danielle's been doing a whole lot of work, basically sorting and getting supplies to people. And I've gone out a couple times to just try to get stuff in people's hands. And that's kind of as being the people that are fortunate in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been a million times worse. And we'll do the other video very, very soon that explains what our experience in this whole thing was, being somewhere that was evacuated and stuff like that.
One of the only places.
Yeah.
And we're literally just a street.
Yeah.
We're just one little street with I don't know how many people on it.
I don't know. Maybe they evacuated a dozen people.
In the church, they ain't got people that live in there.
No, so yeah, it's just a tiny little section here. Everyone talks about the evacuation thing.
There was a lake that's going to overflow by you, and we've never dealt with that before, and we don't want to come back in here to get you if you are floating.
Right.
So,
and that's another thing.
Why we left.
Our area, we're in McDowell County. We're in Marion, and I guess it's looked at kind of like it's fixed, because like a lot of our roads are accessible. We do have like a major town, and people can go in and out. The power's restored in a lot of it now.
Yeah.
It was 17 days in or something.
Today's day 18.
Yeah, and we'll go into particulars with everything there. But the fact of the matter is, we're not being told like by the news or anything like that. The amount of dead that have piled up here, that they're right down the street from us, and just a lot of dark things. So another thing that I guess kind of like got us to want to do this is the fact that a lot of stuff's hiding in plain sight. And just like with getting work done, the only way you do is with the community. So the only way you learn information is from your friends and neighbors that are volunteering and stuff like that.
Most of us wouldn't be. There's so many people here that would not be alive, or even if they were alive, they wouldn't have been rescued or this, that, and the other. They wouldn't be fed right now. They wouldn't have a place to stay. They wouldn't have clothes on their backs. They wouldn't have simple things like hygiene items, pet food, this, that, and the other, if it was not for everybody in the surrounding communities coming together to help.
Right, it's the churches. It's like we look at what our church has done, and it's huge. It's an amazing amount of stuff. It's so many people came through and stuff.
Oh my God, we were nonstop.
And it's one of the smaller churches that are doing it.
Yeah.
So think about how much.
We're not registered on the PODs either.
Thankfully,
for a reason,
and don't want to be. But that's a whole other podcast episode. But yeah, we've got we've got the opportunity to help a lot of people. There's a lot of inspiration to do it because you see other churches doing it and stuff like that. And it just feels like a mission to me. So the number one reason, well, not number one, I guess these aren't in order, but the first thing I jotted down as far as why we're doing this on the channel is just kind of like the neighborly charity aspect of it. The, getting the word out for the lesser helped people, the ones who haven't been mentioned on the news, the ones who are off the map, off the beaten trail.
There's a lot of them you ain't never heard of. I guarantee you, if you're watching this and you don't live in North Carolina, you have no clue these places.
And even if you do,
exist, let alone that they got completely destroyed.
Yeah. And there's,
A lot of
there's
places
small
besides
places.
Asheville got destroyed.
They might have 200 residents or something like that,
Yeah,
but that's
that's
a lot of
200
people.
residents. That's 200 people's lives.
And they're there out of reach of pretty much any resource, still without any electricity, without
Yeah.
any water. It's pretty dire in places like that. So that's part of the reason we're doing this, because we've been out there and talked to people that said, like, no, nobody's been here,
Yeah.
and that was way into it. There's also a Christian connection to it. I mean, I've really seen the spirit of Christianity, the spirit of Christ, as a huge part of this.
We stood and prayed over so many people that came through the line at the church, and I'm talking there was like 700 people coming through there a day, at least for days on end. Stood and prayed over so many people that who knows if they even believed in God or not. I don't know.
Maybe they do now.
Like, and just prayed for their situation, because they're there telling us, hey, I have nothing. I have absolutely nothing. I have no power for 13 days now. I have this, that, and the other. Like, and they need basic things, and you just ask, hey, can we pray for you? And they said, sure. I don't know if they believe in God or not. I hope they do now.
Well, that power community right there, kind of, that Pastor Jeff was talking about, like the doctors that it can come through, or
Oh
one in
yeah, we
particular.
did. We had a doctor come through.
It's like, on top of needing everything and being wiped out of everything you worked for, I mean, there is an ego situation there. Like, you just feel just depleted.
Yeah.
You feel
You're a
like,
fucking sorry. You're a doctor, and you're coming through to get a toothbrush.
right.
And it's like,
You can't survive without, your device or this or that. It
yeah,
makes a man in particular feel helpless and weak,
yeah, we had a lot of,
especially if you have a family. It's like, dude, I can't do this or that for them, because, and that'll be another part of this. That, well, it's a point here. We'll get to
they've
it.
helped us a lot too.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
just, it's pretty incredible how widespread the community love has been. And I've never seen or lived in a place in my entire life, and I've lived several different states besides Michigan and here. I've never seen anything like it.
I ain't never
ever.
seen nothing like that before. Not even close.
No.
I've never seen people come together like that. We're covering it long term, just for the simple fact that this is the worst disaster that's happened on United States soil ever. It will end up being ever. If it takes us covering it for a year for y'all to see that, and for the numbers to just rack up. I mean, like it's some kind of game or something. But seriously, it is the worst, and it's not talked about accordingly.
No, people are sweet. It's being swept away under the rug. It's when Katrina hit, and we are not comparing pain here, okay? But when Katrina hit the world news, that was not all we heard all the time, every day for a long, long time.
A really long time.
I mean, and this is not.
They basically had like a death counter on the TV, like with COVID.
It was like every single day, constantly, and this, people are not hearing about it, and what they are hearing is very, just buffed over, and it's not, like I said, these places that you would have no idea even exist, they're not being mentioned. They're not being covered. And it's just, it's not okay. People need to know that this really has affected a lot more people than people are being told. This is a way bigger disaster than people are being told. And a year from now, when we're done with this whole year thing, things will still not be rebuilt. Some things will never be rebuilt. There's history that is gone forever. I mean, gone forever. It's not ever going to be, you can't get it back. It's gone. Places that just, you can't rebuild them. You can't. You can put something there, but you can't rebuild it. Really.
I would, if anything, I mean, even though they're completely different, at least, I'll just say they're completely different. 9/11 and this are similar, but this would actually impact more people, being that just at the end of the day, it's going to be more people, It's going to be, reach out
It's
to more
widespread. It's
families,
very widespread.
and it's going to affect, like you said, the tourism of this region
Yeah.
forever. It relies heavily on tourism and the mining
Oh yeah.
and the production. A lot of what our country depends on comes out of here,
Mm-hmm.
whereas you didn't lose a whole lot of that with that. I'm not downplaying 9/11, obviously, and they're completely different types of situations, but it's just that sort of impactful event that now that there's another hurricane and there was a big storm before that, it's just kind of been like blended in together as the same thing. And it's just like, no, 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 this isn't just another big one. This isn't,
No, this is it. This is the one.
and it's hundreds of miles. I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard this by now, but it's hundreds of miles in each direction. This is far larger than Katrina.
In a place that never gets hurricanes.
It's the mountains. It's hundreds of miles inland.
There are no things in place for a hurricane to hit the mountains.
And people here, as we said, are very resourceful and smart when it comes to dealing with the elements. God. If there was any possibility they thought this could happen, it would have been
stuff built up. Absolutely, in place for sure.
I guess I'm getting off track, but I mean, another thing like aside from just being the worst and not being talked about accordingly, I want to make sure it does. The people are actually very important, an important case study. If you're looking at this, like, say you're an anthropologist, just the people here, just on average, are kind of the middle class people that they're always talking about in political debates and stuff like that. Just the working class. A lot of resources come out of here. Very, very family oriented, going all the way back to essentially the beginning of this country. The mountain men were kind of always the ones that you didn't mess with, but that you called on. They're just very tough, resourceful individuals.
Very God country family people here.
And that's exactly, I mean, those are the type of people that you want to examine and kind of learn from, but you also want to make sure that you preserve. For reasons like this. These are resourceful people. Well, you want to see how they
have a disaster somewhere far away. Guess who's coming to you? These people here.
And you can go, hey, wait a minute, how did they do it? It sucked. It still sucked really badly. However, they got through it, and here's how they did it. So I think it's important to preserve the way of life of a lot of people here. And another thing is the response to this must be examined
heavily.
And I'm not going to make this into a breakdown of how I feel about the federal or the state or the local response to the disaster. I will say that the federal response to the disaster is a disaster, but that's
too late.
Very late, way later than people even comprehend.
People have loved
Some places ain't been visited yet.
That were saying, loved ones swept away, and they were asked, like, what did anybody come here or whatever, and they're like, no, they haven't come here, and it's too late. It's
right.
Too late.
What's the point?
That was,
And like that whole thing, we will be breaking it down with absolute fact and everything. But the reason I say the response has to be examined is not just to sit there and rip on a particular administration or an organization. That's another thing. I mean, an organization within the government is still going to exist no matter who takes the presidency and stuff like that.
We need to examine it so the next disaster we can maybe fix something and they can act faster.
Right. And that you can look at it
have
from
stuff in place better. I don't know, policy change. I don't know what the hell.
Accounting for the funds, all that kind of thing.
Fix that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Fix it.
So in other words, I guess you could say that it's under our preliminary examination, it's not a great response
right now.
But yeah, it needs to be examined so that we know how to move forward next time.
Yeah. Hopefully there's not a next time, but there will be something.
I think there will be, but we're just going to leave that part alone for now.
Yeah.
Another reason that we're going to be doing this is, it's disrespectful to downplay the whole thing.
Very much so.
And also another one, it shows the teamwork and the community that the neighborly love, just that you never see. Like you said, you've never seen it anywhere before.
Never.
No.
And most of these people had just, they only met me maybe like 2 weeks before this had all happened. And some of them I hadn't met at all, and
Yeah,
like
me neither.
I worked side by side with these people for days on end. We came in exhausted, we left exhausted, and still came right back. And it was like became family within 24
There's
hours.
no red tape with community. It's
Not at
boom, get in
all.
there and do it.
They're all like, "Well, can we give you a ride home? You need this, you need that, you need this." I'm like, "I'm here to help." Yeah, but make sure you get what you need first.
Make sure
Like
you're good so you can take care of it. And I
it's
mean,
just incredible.
and on a bigger scale, an example of it is depending on where you were, it was like 8 to 17 days before there was any kind of, troops, anything there to help.
Yeah,
So there was things like that,
the
the
pack
Operation
mule.
Airdrop with
Oh
the
yeah,
50, those are all independently owned
yeah,
citizen helicopters and planes. And yeah, the pack mules and
yeah.
there's the companies that were, a lot of these guys are still working during the day, but at night they're out here sawing trees so people can get to work the next day on the road.
Mm-hmm.
They're pulling people out of the houses, and I don't think they'll ever get their due. But when you see the numbers, it'll probably be, I don't know, 6,000 people dead or something at the end of this. When you find out that, I don't know, 8,000 were rescued and stuff like that, I'd venture to guess 7 out of 8 of them were
They were
rescued in that
citizens.
initial stage by citizens.
Yeah.
So, and that's a huge thing because just, like you said, you've never seen people act that way before. I don't believe that I would have ever have thought back up north that if something this terrible hit, that it would be the citizens at all
No,
that fixed it.
they'd be shooting each other. Sorry, but you
Possibly,
guys
yeah. Like,
probably would be. I love Detroit. It's my home forever. But I'm sorry, but
and
you
in the
guys would probably
suburbs,
be
you
killing
have a
each
lot
other.
of people that are like
They're
around
just
Metro Detroit,
they'd
just
be like,
hiding in the
"Oh,
house.
baby, just stay away from each other." Everybody'd be looting and scared.
Yeah, I mean, there's good people there, but I'm just saying it's
No,
not the
it
same
just wouldn't
spirit
be
of
this.
survival.
It
Like,
wouldn't be the same. I mean,
a lot of people here, it's like I was sitting here, we're mentioning the federal government thing, but I must say that probably more than half of the people here, it's not even a disdain for the government. It's not even a complaint that they weren't here. It's we don't want them. We don't need them. Like that sheriff was saying up
no,
in,
we
in
got
Chimney Rock.
us.
Like we just stay out of the way.
Yeah, let
Like
us do what we gotta do. We've already been doing it,
right. We
so
have
let us do it.
excavators, we have equipment, we have saws, we
We
have
had
medics, we
people
have
that were walking around in Old Fort, just carrying their chainsaws on their backs, just walking around through the streets that were impassable. Just citizens, civilians from the same town that also had no power. They also had no nothing. And they're just like, well, you know what? We're just going to walk around with our chainsaws and help
who needs
chainsaw
something
people
cut?
out.
Like basically that's what it was. Who needs
My
something
parents
cut?
were stuck for over 24 hours. I mean, my cousins went up there and cut them out halfway, and then we had freaking complete strangers go up there to check on them, bring them
Yeah,
water.
yeah. Out of nowhere.
People I have never met in my life. I still haven't met the guy in person.
Yeah.
I mean,
Another reason we're doing this is aside from showing that teamwork, we're gonna need that teamwork and community for any possible future disaster, a possible war on our own soil,
yeah,
things like that. I've noticed a lot of the people that came to others' aid were like basically preppers.
yeah,
I mean, they had supplies on hand. They had safe places for people to be. They had,
yeah.
you know,
Portable showers
yeah,
and,
that they had triage, like that. They had all of that stuff, and I've noticed in the prepper groups I'm in Facebook, which I've joined recently, just before this actually. I've noticed that this year has gotten them all really thinking and really sharing ideas more than ever, and
mm-hmm.
just prepping went from if something crazy happens with martial law, it's like, no, man, it could be all kinds of things. We are too dependent on the grid, on electricity, on the internet, like just
This
on
definitely
gasoline.
showed
Just,
us how crazy dependent people are
oh, God,
on
yeah. It's like,
communication, the internet,
24 hours in, and it's like people are like, oh my God, I'm gonna die.
And
like they're basically helpless, and it's like, wait a minute, snap out of it. Hold on a second.
Not suddenly there's no way to get a hold of each other.
Yeah.
At all. So it's like he goes and leaves. I mean, we'll tell this story later. Was he goes and leaves and he's gone for 6 hours, and I have no freaking clue if he's dead or alive because of the situation. I don't know what he's driving into. I don't know what's going on in the real world.
Oh, it was a fun drive too.
You know, I have no way to know what's going on in the real world. No way to communicate because our phones won't work. No way to get a hold of my parents, who one, can barely walk right now. And her surgery got canceled because of this freaking hurricane. Like, I mean, it's crazy how dependent you really are on that.
You are. And you're dependent. It's
scary.
Just on kind of like your network of resources and your routine and stuff like
comforts, that.
Yeah. It reminds me of the COVID thing where it's like there's all this residual, there's all this other damage that you don't think about. It's like you have the deaths, and then you have the people that are immediately affected because somebody they love died or something. But then there's like the loss of education, the depression, the drug abuse, the abuse that happened in a home from lockdowns, and just all this stuff. It's like that. Where like all of a sudden there's all these other problems, and it's like people could easily get very selfish in these situations.
We've had a few. But,
the closest to looting, like people have heard these looting rumors, is people taking too many supplies.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, there's nothing to loot, honestly.
No,
really,
everything got wiped out.
So it's not like you're going to break into a store and like get a new record player or whatever.
Player?
I'm just thinking of the Sublime song.
Oh.
Like, you're not about to go into the store and get new fucking, speakers and shit.
Thought I was back in a happier place, or David Lee Roth is the king of rock and roll.
Well, I mean, shit.
Everybody's got a Trans Am.
No one's going to, there's no store to go get that shit. If they had it, it floated down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, and that I don't say that lightly because it's true.
No.
But yeah, the loot. I mean, we had people that came through our thing too many times, and started getting too many and taking advantage a little bit. We had a little bit of that,
but not looting like the Summer of Floyd.
No,
not like that.
Summer of Floyd.
I'm gonna one day write and direct a film, a documentary called The Summer of Floyd. It's gonna be fantastic.
Nobody better steal that name. I'll be pissed.
Yeah, man. Seriously, I'll bring some resourceful people to come see you if that happens.
We've met many.
I'll get together with like Matt Walsh or somebody and do Summer of Floyd. I don't know if I could be as funny as those guys with that kind of stuff though. I get mad. But another reason, and I had this as number 6. I haven't been doing this right, and maybe this will illustrate the whole point. Is for our own therapy. Like, it's an emotional subject. Normally I'm like bullet point. What does Trump call it? The weave. How no matter how much he goes off into talking to something else, he weaves right back. Yeah, see, I'm not as good at that right now. This has been a weird shock. It's hard to process. I wrote a song about it that you guys will probably hear. For this, and the opening of it just basically tells you, like, I've never experienced something where I have visions of it in my sleep, when I'm awake, on my drive to work, when I didn't experience it firsthand. I mean, I saw it, but I'm saying, like, I'm experiencing it as though I'm the people who lost their life or watched their loved one get whisked away, or it's very dark stuff. There's a lot of imagery that's pretty damn bad, even right here in our own town. And it doesn't leave me, man. Like, it's always here.
Just because we weren't sitting on top of a roof when our, watching our house go down the road or whatever, doesn't mean that we did not experience it. Everyone has experienced it at a different level. Obviously, that's the worst of the worst, getting stuck in the water and the horrible things that happen there, or losing your life, losing your child, whatever, that's horrific. The stories are horrific. But I mean, we've got bodies being pulled out in a place that we like down the street, literally a half mile from our house, a 2-minute drive, if that.
0.4 of a mile, less than half a mile. So, to be specific, and the thing that's really disturbing about it is that I can't not think about it, because my whole thing while the weather is halfway decent every single day I come home from work is get the kids out of the
Yeah,
house,
we want to go
get them
places.
to ride their
We
bikes, get
can't
them.
go anywhere. We've taken
Every
them,
place I think of has dead bodies in it,
and we've
basically,
taken
or it's just
them a
destroyed.
couple places, like our normal places, but they're closed. They're destroyed. So it's like we could walk in there for like a minute and take some videos to show the
Show
destruction
the
of the
damage.
asphalt that moved from over here to way over there because of water. But that's it. It's not like, and that adds to the sadness for the kids. You got everyone experiences things at different
Yeah, like
levels.
her. She's
And it's
like,
like she's
I was
4.
like, we got to go ride your bike. She's like, go to the Greenway. I'm like, I
She
can't go to
wants
the
to go
Greenway,
there so
or we
bad.
can't. And
She
she's
loves that
like,
place.
fix it. And I'm
Yeah,
just like, I can't just fix it. That's
yeah.
not how this works.
And
So it's a constant reminder. Like it's always there. Um, and of course I deal with the public in my store, even though it's about dead, because people just can't buy furniture right now. They're not out shopping for such things.
yeah.
But the people I do talk to, it's like they have their stories, and it's the thing that's the elephant in the room. It's the thing that everybody wants to talk about, but they don't want to talk about, but they can't get it out of their head. It's like every time I put the pen to paper to even so much as write a to-do list, I'm like writing a freaking poem or something. It's like one of the darkest things I've ever written. Like it
Well,
just
it's
doesn't leave.
we're living it. Like I said this the other day, and I'll say it a million times. That for us and everybody here who has experienced this stuff on whatever level we've all experienced it, we will forever live. And this may sound dramatic to you if you're not here, but it isn't. It's not. We will forever live our lives from here on out in the before and after of Helene. People used to
Yeah,
say
that's
that
true.
about COVID. It's
Yeah, I
not
still feel
not
that way
on
about
that.
COVID, and this is
This is
bigger.
this is different. This is a different feeling completely. And I don't even want to talk about what that feeling was, but we will forever operate on a before and after. 18 days ago, what our lives looked like, what everyone's lives looked like here was completely different.
Absolutely, yeah,
Even
way
though we have
different.
electricity at our house and we have a shower and like, we have a couple roads and stores that are like right there. My parents are still screwed. Their whole area is still screwed, and that's 15 minutes away. Like everything is a wreck. People are still being found. There's a ton of missing people. I mean, it's not something that's going to be fixed anytime soon.
I will say there's a positive in all you're saying, though. But as far as like not living the same going forward, I think that people will continue to carry that. Like I made like the halfway 9/11 analogy,
Yeah, I
where
don't
we had
think it'll
patriotism for
die.
like a year, but it went away, or
I
maybe
don't
less
think
than a
it'll
year.
die here.
No, I don't, because there's I swear, like every raindrop,
Oh,
every
we're
storm that's coming,
terrified.
every chopper overhead, it's like
Yeah, when
everybody's
it's
like,
all
get
day.
ready.
Well, and that's the thing is like,
And like you said, it's going to take a long time to fix it. So it's going to be in front of everyone's face all the time. Their
yeah.
job will probably, like, let's say you're in new construction. Well, now you're in repair.
Yeah,
Like
and now you're gonna
your
build
job's going to
a
change a little.
road and you have to rebuild infrastructure.
Yeah,
I mean,
you do.
it's just we are living in the after, and now that the shock of it has worn off for everybody, it's now the heaviness, and
Yeah,
it's a
it's just
very
there.
excessive heaviness in your soul that you just carry.
It's like I was saying the first several days once we found out how bad it was, because y'all got to realize that you're disconnected
Yeah,
from
we
everything for
we didn't
several days.
know.
Once we found out, I truly had a survivor guilt sort of thing.
Hmm.
Unless anyone's experienced that, it almost sounds silly. Like it
At
sounds like
first, I didn't, because it wasn't registering to me completely, and then it was like, oh my god! When
I
I
did.
started volunteering with everybody, I'm just like,
I did like almost immediately, and I
I
was like,
mean,
"What is this?" And I remember back when I was younger, it's like a friend of mine got killed, and it was like
yeah,
that should have been me type of
yeah,
thing. It was like that, and I'm sitting here looking, and I'm just like, I have to do something. So, anyways, it's partly our own therapy to do this.
if
And
I'm not helping, then I feel helpless. So
yeah,
yeah,
and I totally understand when you say that, because even now I'm like nervous about, okay, Wednesday, which place are we going? And I'm like, there's nothing worse than when you have a plan or you have stuff to take and it's like, oh, they don't need that particular thing. or you went to the wrong place, or oh God, you found out
Or
these
you
people over
get
here have
turned
nothing,
away.
or
Yeah.
you get turned away. Like it's like, you feel like you're not doing enough, even though you're really trying, and you're only just a regular person. But anyway, I guess the seventh point I had was, that maybe in our own little way we can help influence like the rebuild, help getting people to want to bring money into the area, like make things beautiful again the way that they were. Little things like that are meaningful to people, where it's like, oh, well, maybe their first date, or like they proposed or something like that, is the first place they went as a family. It's like, it may just be some little overlook somewhere, but maybe we influence somebody to come in from out of town and help rebuild an overlook somewhere, or whatever. That's just something that
Yeah.
I personally would be all about being a part
A
of.
place in Nashville that they found really special, or I mean, just anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's important. It's very important.
Yeah, just help. I mean, obviously, the rebuild for like schools with long traditions like Montreat and stuff like that, and just rebuild everything. But I just mean like, it's not like we're gonna have personally some kind of influence over rebuild the whole area, but we may influence somebody. They may come to us and say, "Hey, I'm just a little tiny construction company. What can I come do?" I'll be like, "Hey, man, I'll slap your name. The city slap your name on it. Go." You know what I'm saying? Like that sort of thing. That's how those things historically
Yeah.
happen. But anyways, that's just me like dreaming to be a part of something positive, I guess. And I mean, maybe most importantly, um, we want to give people an outlet. And
Yeah.
I guess I should have said this at point one, but I said that they weren't in any particular order. Um, there's a lot of people that want to tell their stories, and some of them, like the timing. Number one, they didn't have communication right away. Number two, once you have communication, you're not necessarily ready to share a story. Number three, once they come online, some of the ways that people are being and stuff like that may
Makes you
shy them away
scared
from
to
that.
talk about
Yeah,
stuff.
it's like, and it's, oh, if you're not being positive enough, or if you want to be critical of this group or that group, they're going to treat you horribly. Or it could just be a simple thing inside, almost like a survivor guilt thing, where you want to share your story, but you feel like, well, my story is
Mine's
nowhere
not
near
bad
as
enough.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to give people an outlet that are from different places. I want them to explain what it's like in those moments.
Yeah, what their experience was
There was the dude
or
Cody
is.
in Fairview that was on the Peak Prosperity Show,
Yeah.
where his story was just
Oh my God.
heart wrenching. And that was one of the first moments that I found myself like stuck on this, and oh my God, I have to give every Cody their chance to talk.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. And I understand some people, maybe that's not their way. I mean, to be honest, like usually that's not my way. Like, hey, you want to come on and talk about it and stuff like that? I'd be like, nah, I don't want to dwell on it, man. I want to keep moving forward. But I think that at some point or another, everybody would like to have an outlet. We'd love to give it to them, even if it's just a positive story where they say, I was trapped and a neighbor of mine came and helped, and he's a hero, and he's going to be embarrassed by me doing this, but I just want to shout him out.
Hmm.
Whatever. Sometimes people feel the need to do that. And, as parents, I feel like putting some effort into this will help to teach our kids, like, when and how to step up.
Yeah, I think it's been good for the kids to have been down at the church for a couple days. I mean, Marissa was with me every day, but Micah was there for a couple days too before they got the kids back into school here, and just to be there, and both of the kids for a couple days helped out a lot because we had so much going on in there. We had like assembly lines of people like, here, take this back, and they were up in there helping, and I think that's good for them to see that. And now they have a community too.
Yeah.
As we didn't really have a community here, so I guess that's
No,
one positive thing we
it
can get
is.
out of
That's
this.
that's the thing.
We haven't had a community anywhere we've lived in a very long time.
No, not really.
And I truly feel like we have one.
I really
So
want
that's nice.
to do our small part in stopping the complacency. This had me almost ready to not do any of this
Yeah.
work yesterday, where some people are just so happy that it's not over, but that they've gotten some help and that they're just that life's got a little bit of normalcy back to it. That like they're just like, okay, it's fine. The federal response is great. It's not that big of a deal. We'll rebuild. Let's just look into the future. And it's just like this really weird thing to where
they have to be positive, and
yeah,
you
and they're
have
very
to,
complacent. Like I'll see someone complain. They'll say, "Hey, man, in my town, it was 11 days before anybody came and helped, and that's fine. We did it on our own, but I just want to put it out there that whatever's being spun by the media isn't true." And
oh, you get
immediately,
attacked.
yeah, people just attack, and they're just like, they're working hard too, and they're just
They've
taking
been on the
orders,
ground, this,
and it's
that, and the
like,
other. It's
dude,
like,
okay, fine. Don't turn it into. We're not attacking the individuals that work for an agency.
no,
That's the
we're attacking
thing.
who sent them
Yeah. In other words,
and
like
how quickly they did it.
if I sit there and I say that this attack that we did on another country that we're warring with was a little irresponsible and a little stupid or whatever,
Yeah, I'm not
unwarranted.
talking shit about the soldiers who were
No.
forced to go fight them before
Right.
because they joined up and took an oath essentially to do that.
Right. So I've seen some complacency where it's just like people are like, it's time to be positive. It's time to move forward. Let's not dwell in the dark part of it. Let's not be angry. Let's not be spiteful. And I'm saying, no, you need to keep some of that anger. You need to hold the so-called leaders accountable for what they did or didn't do.
Yeah,
Um, you need to be upset
this is one of the
with things
worst
like that.
disasters that this country has ever seen or will ever see. I mean, and they, like you said, they need to be held accountable.
In this country, our citizens who've worked their whole lives and paid into the tax system and helped build this country,
we
especially in
deserve
this
fucking better.
especially in this region, should not be living in tents like in
No.
Swananoa, like having people that are broke as hell like us run them blankets on the last of our gas.
Yeah, when they got,
You know what I'm saying?
because we're
It's
now
just not
into
right.
the 30s at night for the next week.
Yeah.
I mean,
we will be supplying rides for voting though, so if anybody's watching, keep that in mind if you're in the
Yeah.
area. We're in McDowell County, but we'll travel a bit. I
we'll
work in
kind of
Hickory.
coordinate and figure out where your voting
Just
precinct
popped in my head. I
is.
didn't want to
We're
forget.
gonna, yeah, I thought of that earlier, and it's very important, and we'll make that happen. I'm gonna talk to some people at the church. We'll make that.
It's
happen.
people you need some semblance of your life, meaning your home is gone. God forbid you even lost members of your family. If you're still working, your job is all screwed up and stuff like that. But being able to vote, being able to travel and see your loved ones, being able to take part in certain activities and stuff like that, just to feel like your life has some semblance of normalcy.
Yeah.
I would love to see a lot of people get that. I really would. So, anyway, I guess I should just say what we will be doing. I'm sitting here explaining why. What we will be doing is a lot of interviews with people on the ground, whether that be people that, like, say, our pastor who's been out there and he's recovered some people and he's spoken to and prayed over a lot of people.
He's experienced some rough stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And people from groups that gave a lot. We'll be more than likely talking to some people that we go out and help. And, some people anonymously that want to tell certain stories, we'll let them do that, whether they want me to, like I said in the short, whether they want me to just read it off or they want me to change their voice, whatever. Some people don't want to put absolutely everything out there, but they have stuff they need to get off their chest. Um, we're going to be putting interviews essentially out there, conversations.
Mm-hmm.
We want to basically help to do some kind of outreach for and by people in the communities. So I know a lot of people are doing that, but I mean, if we can help connect people the way that I've seen other channels connect people,
and that's important.
and I'm like, oh, there's these big ones that keep connecting people to other big ones, and I'm just like, well,
yeah, we need the little guys.
Hey, we're
down
a little
the
guy.
street are actually pretty freaking big guys for the area. So like people like that, like me, if they
Yeah.
to connect to something like that you might not know exists.
Yeah, like we're just fine being the small guy. I mean, kind of like at my business, like I'm happy usually being the small business. Like I'd rather be that. It's more personal. It's more helpful to people. It's more genuine. So we're fine being that. If we can connect just the smallest thing, it could end up being something big. I mean, Mike, who I'll give a shout out to, his church sent like a truck or two worth of stuff to I think it's at Greenville, South Carolina,
That's awesome.
and then they're going to distribute from there because they have like a huge place there. And then you've got
Oh,
Legacy
Legacy
of
of Hope
Hope.
International. Yeah, they're out of Asheville. But that's one of the groups that I do the anti-trafficking work with, and we've been waiting for clearance for them to be able to come here, and I pretty much got it today. So hopefully they'll be here this week to start a distribution for places that are not getting it enough.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. Just like we said at the beginning, as far as covering it, just
And they
this the
live in
smaller,
Asheville,
lesser known
so like
areas.
they have been decimated themselves, and
Right.
they want to come and help people here. That says a lot.
And we'd like to show the severity with pictures and videos, continue to show it for like the next year or whatever, so that it never leaves people's minds quite how bad it is.
Yeah,
You weren't seeing a lot at the beginning. What you did see was kind of like regurgitated because there was limited connectivity. More and more is going to be coming out, and it's just like they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. I mean, what about 100,000 pictures?
yeah,
100,000 videos. It's it's a lot to show, but people need to. I'm just damn near obsessed with them grasping exactly how big and powerful this was and how much this affects the region
yeah,
and even the country as a whole. At some point, I'll go
yeah.
into
When
the
something,
financial ramifications for the entire country that come on that this affects.
yeah, when something wipes out, entire parts of like an interstate,
Oh
that's
yeah,
that's a pretty big
and
deal.
it affects
It's like a
like
bomb
trucking was
went
already
off into the
affected.
freeway.
Yeah,
I mean,
or damn, but
it's gone.
yeah, there's a. I'd like to create a space, a place for strategy as far as any kind of future stuff like we talked about. Any kind of theories people have. I'm
Yeah,
open to
throw them
hearing
out.
every
We don't
one of
care
them.
what way they are.
Um,
Throw them out there.
I have some of my own,
Hmm.
but for the most part, I'm going to hold them back. I am going to have a whole separate series that isn't just about the situation, but it has to do with certain theories that I may have to put behind a wall because I know that there's going to be some, we'll call them buzzwords in that
Yeah.
series. It's
If you got
I'm
something on your
obfuscating everything
mind,
as much as I
tell
can,
it.
but there's only so much you can
If you
do.
have missing information, we would like to hear
Yes,
your
not
missing information,
misinformation,
not
missing
missing
information,
information. Yeah.
firsthand stuff. That sort of thing. I want to hear your theories. I want to hear your criticisms, and I want to hear your planning, your prepping, your all of that kind of stuff. I think that it'll be a great thing to be able to share all of that. Um, and we'll get to show what true heroes are, and kind of contrast that next to a lot of current leaders because they just suck. Like there's no better way to say it. There's
Yeah,
no more eloquent way to
unfortunately,
say it.
I mean, it just is what it is.
It is.
It's pretty blatant.
And I mean, sometimes it's I feel like you get too much into minutia when you start arguing politics and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
anybody can make themselves sound correct or whatever, but you have to get back to your gut and the basics sometimes. And all I have to ask is that, do you think we'd be sitting better if Ron DeSantis was our governor?
Heck yeah.
Okay, that's all I had to know.
Oh my
All
God,
right,
yeah.
so we kind of want to show what a good leader is, what a bad leader is, what's needed, what's not. You see that on a ground level very well. I mean, a lot of times you hear leader, you think somebody who has a title, they have a lot of power, whether it's lawmaking or they, own some giant company or something like that. But a true leader is somebody who can just, enter a room, with a group full of other men and women who have their alpha personalities or whatever it is, their egos on display, and be able to just organize the whole situation, take control for the greater
Yeah,
good,
they
and
have
everybody
that
can see it.
command,
Yeah. I like to think I have it sometimes, but I've seen some people that I'm in awe of it as far as they're concerned. So, um, we can monitor future responses and progress based on what ends up being the long term thing here. Like I was going back to Katrina as far as like counting fatalities and rebuild and stuff like that in order so I had something to kind of compare against.
hmm
And it could be a
That's the
similar
only
thing
frame of
there.
reference we really got,
Yeah.
for something like
And I mean,
this.
it may sound like, obsessing or this or that, but like in all honesty, like when it comes to say storms or anything, even like changes in government policy and stuff like that, everybody they model off of the past,
hmm
especially with weather patterns and stuff like that. Every now and then there's an anomaly that makes no sense, but there's so I mean
A
it's
big
good
one.
to be able to um and I would like to help attract people to what's left here to see and to visit. It's
There is still a lot of beauty here. I mean, Western North Carolina is one of the most beautiful places in the
it
world.
is, and I will say, northeastern Tennessee and stuff too.
Oh,
Like, we
absolutely.
just don't talk about the Tennessee and Florida and Georgia and South Carolina aspect of it because it's kind of like North Carolina's enough. Like
We're living
for
it
us,
here,
I'll let
yeah. I'll let
church or somebody do
them say,
Tennessee. I
yeah,
don't
they
know.
can talk their own region because I'm not there. I'm
It's
not
too
living it
much.
there.
Like
Like, we're living it
we're
here.
new here as it is.
Yeah.
So but yeah, like there's like I said before we turned the camera on, like you may have always gone to this one place once a year, like my oldest son's mom like might have always went to this one place, and it's like there's a town like that probably on the other side of the mountain,
You just gotta do
or
some looking.
yeah, there's an overlook on the other side of the mountain. There's
Yeah.
like
Don't stop coming here. Tourism is important, and and you making memories for yourself is important. So,
yeah,
don't stop coming here with your families. Don't come here to stare at the wreckage like
oh
we're
god
zoo
no.
animals and take TikTok videos all day long. But I mean, not saying that that's bad in every sense. Sometimes it's needed
You
to
got
so
to
people
document
can
it a
see
little
things.
bit,
But
but
if
kind
it
of
gets
stay out of the
excessive,
way.
like don't come from a million miles
And
away
if
for
you
that.
do it, bring some kind of supply or something.
Yeah, just something to help. At least that's the least you can do. But
Yeah, be useful in
that's
some
like
way or
how we
another.
are if we're going out to like film something. It's like I feel like we have to have something in the car, like just
Right.
in case there's somebody we see that's like, hey, like we did that one day, pull in the driveway, give these people water, whatever.
Yeah.
Baby supplies. That was. We'll talk about that in another
We
one.
did find out a lot of information for people on the ground.
Yeah.
Stuff that's I think some of it's important. Um, I don't know why people are so concerned with whether or not something is a rumor against a giant. I don't know. I'm irritated at the fact that people suddenly feel this like inner passion to defend um, giant bureaucratic extensions of the government, that they had put down in every other situation in the past, but all of a sudden they have to cape for them. And I'm just like, why is that? Like,
Yeah, when that red tape literally cost people their lives.
right. And I believe more than red tape, but
Yeah.
at the very least, red tape. And it's like, people need to be able to tell, oh, I'll use a phrase that the left loves, their truth.
Yeah.
Eh, but no, the truth, and obviously some people are going to have some great experiences to share as far as that stuff goes, but people need to feel okay to just express themselves and, like I said, give their story. And sometimes these stories, like when I sat there and I listened to that lady that you mentioned, and there's been a few other people that I've listened to, whether it was online or in person, I've heard the story and it just like kind of inspired me, where I was like, okay, my day is like great by comparison. What am I going to do with it?
Mm.
Like, this is pathetic that I'm bothered by what I'm bothered by. like I'm angry by the traffic or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like is this really a horrible thing? And I was getting to where we would talk about, in next episodes we'll talk about what we saw and what we dealt with out there, and as we continue to do it. But I mean, we went into some of the worst areas and just kind of assess things. We talked to people face to face. We found out how distribution of stuff was working. We found out some of the literal roadblocks, and we found out how people were feeling. And I will say this: no matter how bad it was, I didn't see anybody feeling like powerless,
No.
which is insane because they literally had no power. They
Oh
they they, they
yeah.
had no water. They didn't know where their next meal was
They
coming
had
from. Like,
babies,
yeah,
an 8-month-old baby at that one house. I mean, just, ugh.
I mean, we just don't deal with this kind of stuff in the first world. I mean, everybody likes to think that they could deal with it just fine, but in all honesty, it's not that easy. Keeping your mental state positive is, from what I can tell, number one, and the best way to do that is to have supportive people around you. And
Mhm.
I've seen a ton of that. But I guess I'll cut stuff here. I just guess I wanted to explain what we're going to be doing, why we're going to be doing it. We'll still have plenty of other interviews like we always do and just regular podcast episodes. But we're going to try to always keep this as a main topic.
Yeah, this might kind of take the wheel a little bit on some things.
Yeah, I think
But,
so. I mean,
at least right
it's
now,
big enough to us.
yeah.
I mean, I think it's the story. I hate to call it
It
a
should be
story.
the story of the world right now,
It's really,
at least of the United States.
it's all of a sudden certain stories though just aren't as big as they should be. But in all seriousness, like this should be a much bigger thing.
You have people that might not have power for 3 more weeks, if that. I mean, that's insane.
I've heard
It's been
months for
18 days.
some,
Oh, there are, yeah.
just because, and that's the other thing. I mean, at some point, um, I saw a channel that what is that guy's name? Rick Honeycutt or something like that. The one,
Someone honey could.
yeah, the helicopter pilot. He was sharing this one channel that does like animated. It'll basically show you what happened to, say, the mountainsides and stuff when this stuff happens, and it kind of does like a predictive model. It shows you what happens in nature and stuff like that. I would love to get some people to talk about that too. I would love to get some people to talk about, like, here's what to expect. Um, Here's how to know that that's what's coming. Because this was unprecedented. Obviously, there wasn't any time to react.
No, there was
Uh,
no evacuation orders, and we'll talk about that in another
but
one.
if there ever
There
is a
was none.
situation
We
in
had
another
none.
place, maybe because this is unprecedented here, and you may be kind of on the fence as to how to react. If you have an understanding of what is actually happening, not just a suggestion or an order from someone, leave, don't leave. If you have some kind of understanding of, okay, here's what's going to happen,
Yeah.
um, I think it'll help people a lot to feel stronger about their decision. It may save some lives, and I just think that people need to be really informed about what can happen around them. The power of nature was on display. I'll
Yeah,
say it like
we
that.
never in our wildest dreams thought that I'd ever see anything like this.
Mm-mm.
Not around me.
No.
We've literally chosen places to live because we were like, well, what happens there? We left the place that we were from because of weather.
Yeah.
So we were looking for
Because
other
of
places that were
freezing
better.
weather
And
that
it's
was
like,
dangerous.
we knew that we were taking a
Partly.
risk when we lived on the eastern part of the state because we were living by the coast. We knew we were taking a risk that there is hurricanes there.
Yeah.
We might get some stuff there. We knew that was a risk we were taking. When we moved here, it was like, well, the mountains are absolutely beautiful, and that doesn't happen.
The worst thing that can happen is
We
you can
might get some
slide off the
cold.
side of a mountain by
Yeah,
driving like an idiot or
right.
something.
You
Well,
know,
you could have like a mudslide or something, but
Nothing like this.
No, not a thing where there's like
nothing.
mass casualties and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, this was unprecedented. Now,
One simple thing that you should always remember is someone told me this the other day. You always, always, always run from water and hide from wind. Not the opposite. You run from water, hide from wind.
yeah, you can't hide from water.
Yeah.
It's
You
going to find its
run
way in.
your ass as fast as you can from water. Okay?
Yeah, that makes
Wind
sense.
you can hide from if you're protected enough, I mean, you've seen the movie Twister. People were literally under things, this, that, and the other, and they were digging them out, and they lived.
Yeah.
You
can't really do that with water.
You can't do that with water.
The power of water, like me as a 44-year-old man, I still can't even comprehend how powerful water is now.
Me either, after seeing what we've seen.
Seeing it just rip entire freeways apart into little pieces within seconds, where it's just like, good Lord. Like, and yeah, some of this is biblical. But, well, that'll be a different episode too. So I feel like there's a lot of stuff that we would normally touch on that like will be kind of covered with this too. I would love to have someone on who is very knowledgeable about weather and weather patterns. I would love that. At some point, of course, we're going to have some religious figures on who see things in this and, can teach things from this. And I think that that's what has held the entire region together. People can just say togetherness. They can say a survival instinct that's always been here in Appalachia. And I know I always heard it from my grandmother and stuff. Like I know, but there is always that fabric of God, and just that was the backbone to the strength of it.
God, family, country is a big thing here.
It really is.
It has really shown.
If there weren't any churches, I don't know.
We'd all be probably fucked.
Right. I mean, there's some other organizations and stuff, and in a world where, I mean, it's just that
most of the churches didn't get touched. A lot of the churches are still.
No, that's amazing. Just like ours was the only building there that had power.
It had power.
It was strange. It was really one of those things, And as far as the response, well, I'll leave the controversial thing out of there. This had nothing to do with the government either. This is about groups of certain people. I'll leave that as a teaser to anybody that actually made it to the end of the video. It'll get some people mad. I'm positive of it. But in the next one, we're just going to give our kind of quick breakdown. Sorry this video went so long, but it was like needed to get a lot of this stuff. We've been talking about this, and it's like I had to get it all out. But the next one's just going to kind of detail what our experience was. I saw some very interesting stuff, I'll call it, when I finally did get out of the house after being evacuated to somewhere else. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Let's just put it like that. I had no way of knowing what I was about to see. So
I had no way of knowing if he was dead or not. I was so scared.
And people have to understand it was very far from, like, say, Asheville.
Yeah.
It was nowhere near there. So we'll talk about that in the next one. And anything else you want to add?
I mean, the literally only thing that I'll say at the end of this is just that, I've learned that it is absolutely okay to feel extremely grateful, extremely appreciative, extremely thankful, and blessed and all of that for not, being one of the ones that lost family members or lost everything or, this, that, and the other in the worst possible ways. And we are very thankful for that. But it's also okay to simultaneously be very, very sad, very angry, very scared, all of that at one time. It is absolutely okay to feel both of those things. So, if you are watching this and you are feeling that way, feel it.
Yeah, I mean,
if you lived it, you understand.
That song that I wrote, I've been through pretty much any horrible situation that anybody could ever possibly imagine, any hurtful type of thing. Several of them almost ended my life. And I've never written anything that was this emotional to me before. And so that says something right there. It was it's something just gets you about this whole thing. And I figure there's a lot of people that feel like that, and I would love to help alleviate some of that. It ain't gonna totally go away, but it feels good knowing other people feel like you do.
And
And
if you need an outlet,
yeah, give us a holler.
yeah,
We'll let you say whatever you want to say, even if you
yeah,
just want to just bitch.
yeah,
I've noticed that some of the people who are getting by the best are just venting.
and that's fine.
And sometimes you just need to throw some blame around like that works for
It's,
some people.
yeah,
Other people like me, I needed to get back in the gym
I have to
immediately.
help you,
It,
or I just
I was
can't. Like,
freaking out, man. I can't
yeah,
believe I was tripping over the fact that what do you mean you're not going to have 24 hours back? What do you mean? Like, there's no excuse for that. I was about to straight up like say, dude, just give me a key
yeah,
and I'll be there after work and just keep it open all night. I'll work out and I'll sleep there. Like, it was that bad where I was like, I need to get this out of my system.
some normalcy.
Get some normalcy. So
Yeah,
I guess on that we'll say peace.
yeah,
All
and
right.
you're navigating the after.
All right.